Here's a fun adventure idea that you could do with the whole group.
If I were at your table, I'd be really mad because I didn't have a chance to do anything to stop the ending from happening in any way other than the way you chose.
Oh, if I had a nickel. All right, let's go ahead and dive into how to run horror games for TTRPGs. Now, first of all, I just want to say the original creator that I stitch, who stitched my video, I completely understand where you're coming from. You're seeing things through a heroic lens, seeing things through heroic fantasy, and that's not what horror is. One of the main distinctions that we're going to start off with is that you have heroes and you have survivors. In heroic fantasy, you have heroes. They're always going to take down the baddie. They're going to have pretty good endings. Maybe it'll be a little tragic, but nonetheless, it's generally in the positive area. A survivor is somebody in a horror game or horror movies, stories, all that kind of stuff, that they survive the experience. They're up against something absolutely terrible, whether it's a menacing environment, creature, person, what have you. They survive that. They might take down the creature for sure, but they don't come away from this a hero. There isn't everybody clapping from them. They're broken. They're hurt. So when you have a horror TTRPG game that you're going to run, start off with Session 0 and also implement the X card. Now, these are two safety tools that you are going to need for your games. First of all, Session 0, you're going to be able to have everyone give to you anonymously, well, like you know who the players are, but the other players won't know about it. They give to you all their triggers and things that they're uncomfortable with. I suggest Monty Cook's whole PDF list that you can check through all the different options of things that you don't want in the game. What this allows the GM to do is focus on the horror elements that everyone's okay. We're having an agreement at the table, and this is establishing trust. Secondly, you have the X card system. When something's coming up that somebody really doesn't like, you generally have the yellow and the red X cards. The yellow's not really liking this moment. It's making me not feel good. I need to just kind of gloss over it a little bit more, not such heavy detail. Red X card, something came up I didn't realize, but it actually really bothers me. So then you can sit down, have the discussion, rewind your game, move forward. You might be thinking, but wait a minute, this is removing the horror element. Remember, people first, story second. So now we've established that we have safety tools and sort of an idea of what we want to do for our horror games. Next up, we have a discussion. That's right, in horror games, there is less player agency. There's not no player agency. Plenty of things the characters do will affect and change the story. But your baddies are going to be able to take bigger moves. Bigger things are going to happen. There's going to be moments where they're not going to be able to defeat the enemy. They might have to run. They might have to research how to take this thing down. Honestly, there might be no way to defeat the enemy. It's a matter of survival. Now we're getting away from the hero complex. We're understanding the survivor. There's going to be enemies you might not be able to face. When we referenced the video that I made before, it was a very powerful entity visiting them night after night, having mundane conversations, which was unnerving the players because it was a predator, right? It was just wandering around them. A wolf was wandering around talking to the sheep. So the sheep were uncomfortable. And when they arrive at the town has already been eaten. Now everybody says, wait a minute, the player agency, they couldn't save the town. They were never meant to save the town. The town was always going to be doomed. The same thing would happen if a hero came to a decimated town and he looked around and it was done. That is not the story. The story is that you survived an encounter with an incredibly deadly creature through just talking, just dealing with them, but realizing you're purely on the defensive. That's the adventure. The town is just flavor. It's there. It's already destroyed. It was always going to be destroyed. The creature, unimaginably powerful. You never had a chance of defeating them in the first place, but it creates that element of there are things out there that are so powerful we aren't even aware of, but they're aware of us. The whole don't send out the radio signals, they might hear you kind of thing. Now we're understanding horror TTRPG a little bit more. Your survivors are out there. That's not to say they can't take down creatures. If you have D&D, Pathfinder, all these high fantasy games, you could take down monsters, take down the minions, you might even take down the boss. But your characters are never coming away from this unscathed. They're never coming away just hailed as these remarkable heroes and everything's good and they settle down and everything's fine. Because you all agreed in the beginning through your safety tools to play a horror game together where things probably aren't going to work out really well for the characters and there's probably a high chance of those characters being annihilated. So I hope this quick little crash course helped you understand how to run horror games and TTRPGs. If you have any more questions, I'm more than happy to talk about it. There are a million genres of horror out there. It can all go very different ways. You can add horror elements to your heroic fantasy and other fun games. Honestly, any TTRPG system can be shifted to tell the genre of story you want. So don't limit yourself. You can tell whatever you want. Mystery, comedy, horror, what have you. All right, if you have any more questions about horror things, by all means, leave them in the comments below. I'm sure there's plenty of people who want to argue with me. By all means, leave them in the comments below. Off to make breakfast. Bye now.